I had cut my finger, so I had a bandage. This is no joke. I had a bandage on my finger, and this little bit of blood, and he goes, wait a minute, you did it.
Tell about how O.J. Simpson tried to contact you during the Bronco chase, and then you subsequently visited him in jail.
Yeah. Well, O.J. and I had been very friendly. We worked on the football show together for a number of years on NBC. O.J. was a very affable man. I had no real understanding of some of the domestic violence that took place in his relationship with Nicole. And so all of us were stunned when we heard about the murders on a Sunday night, and our first thought was, oh, what a tragedy for O.J. and his family. And then, as 48, 72 hours went by, the realization set in, he's a suspect here. Now, Friday is when they announced that they're seeking his arrest, but he's disappeared. And they announced that he's a fugitive. You can hear all the reporters gasping, like this is something out of a B movie. That night is Game 5 of the NBA Finals at Madison Square Garden between the Knicks and the Rockets. So when the world finally comes to understand that he's making his way down the 405 slow-speed Bronco chase, almost every other network and station goes live to that, and the whole country is transfixed by it. But Dick Ebersol has to make a decision. And so part of the time, they go to Tom Brokaw, who's at 30 Rock. I'm at Madison Square Garden. Marv Albert's calling the game. I have to kind of bridge between Tom and Marv. And of course, at that time, you don't know what's going to happen. We know that he just got out of the car at his house in Brentwood and gave himself up peacefully, but you didn't know if he'd kill himself. You didn't know if there'd be a gun battle when he got out of the car. You had no idea. He says he's got a gun to his head. A.C. Cowlings, his former Buffalo teammate and longtime friend, is telling the police that that's what's going on. Okay, so we do what we do. The Knicks win the game. So I'm sitting around the hotel on Monday, and a woman whose name I forget, never heard it before or since, from Time Magazine calls and says, we hear that O.J. tried to call you from the Bronco. And I say, truthfully, I think, no, that never happened. Okay, the conversation lasts a minute. Now fast forward several months. It's November of '94. The trial doesn't start till January. He's in the LA County Jail. He had sent word through intermediaries that when I was in Los Angeles, he'd like to see me. So Robert Kardashian, who's part of his defense team, picks me up at the hotel and takes me to the LA County Jail. And it's me, A.C. Cowlings, and Kardashian on one side of the glass, and O.J. in a blue prison outfit, looked to me like he'd lost about 20 pounds. He comes walking in, sits on a stool opposite us, and the way you shake hands is you put your hand up against the glass. And I had cut my finger, so I had a bandage. This is no joke. I had a bandage on my finger, and this little bit of blood, and he goes, wait a minute, you did it. Like it's a joke, right? And so we sit there, and the whole time he's, gently trying to convince me that he couldn't possibly have done this. If I did do something like this, I'm a smart guy. Would I leave a glove in the driveway? And I'm thinking, without saying it, once you cross this unthinkable line and do something like this, if you did, then all bets are off about your past patterns of behavior. But what I said to everything he said was, well, you'll have a chance to tell your story in court. At one point, A.C. Cowlings pipes up and he says, we tried to call you from the back of the Bronco. Now I'm thinking about the lady from Time Magazine. And he called my house in St. Louis. I wasn't there. And he had the number of the studio. But since it was the finals, we were at the site. We're at Madison Square Garden. So he calls, the phone rings and rings, and finally someone picks it up, and it's a tech guy, an engineer. It's Bob Costas. No, he's not there. I got to speak to Bob Costas. He's not here. I have to speak to Bob Costas right now. He's at Madison Square Garden. I have to speak to him. Who's calling? O.J. Simpson. Yeah, right. Click. And the guy hangs up the phone because what would you think? It's a prank.
Right.
Okay? So I don't find out about this till months later. Now, if somehow we had actually connected. It was already one of the most memorable moments in television history. It's like the moon landing. Everyone's watching it. But I would have had to have asked him some rather pointed questions, regardless of what his answers would have been. O.J., did you do it? If you didn't do it, what are you doing running? What are you doing with a gun to your head in the back of the car? But it never came to pass. And that was the last time that I saw or spoke to O.J.
It was.
Yeah, November of 1994.